Hey everyone, it's Michael GoosebumpsFan. I hope you're doing well today. I have another TV book review for you, or the entire title, I guess. R.L. Stein's Goosebumps, or R.L. Stein Goosebumps, presents TV episode number 3. I guess they mean TV book, which is what it eventually was called. Again, kind of a decent, kind of unimpressive 1990s cover. For number 3, Welcome to Camp Nightmare. Now, just for the sake of saying this, I've never been a big fan of Welcome to Camp Nightmare, the original novel, which I've read like maybe 2 times, 3 times in my entire life, ever. I've owned the book for ages, since I was a very young kid. Never been a crazy fan of it. I did see the 2-parter quite a few times in my life. I like the episode probably more than the book, but the book is scarier. Does that make sense? If you don't know what the TV books are, these are not just the original novels, essentially with new covers. That's not what these are. I like to restate that every time I review one of these, just so you guys know, in case you happen to be new to these, or you're trying to collect them or buy them for your big old Goosebumps collection, because there's so many of these things. Essentially what these are novelizations of the episodes that are based on the original books from back in the day from R.L. Stein. These are not written by R.L. Stein. They typically pick people who can write and edit their work enough to sound and feel like an R.L. Stein tale, and that's really cool. I like that about these books. The last one I reviewed in the previous video right before this was Ghost Beach, number 13, and this one was written by, let's see, who was it? Carol Ellis, excuse me. This particular one is actually adapted by Megan Stein. I wonder if she has any relation to R.L. Stein. That's weird. And this is from the teleplay, adapted from the teleplay, by Jeff Cohen, which is based on the novel by R.L. Stein, of course. Now, this one is a little bit longer. Of course, if you know anything about this particular episode, it's actually a 2-parter, which means there was 2 parts put together instead of a 20-minute long episode, which is a single half-hour portion of the show that you typically get with the old 1990s Goosebumps show. This one would be about 45 minutes long in total, with the 2 episodes squished together. Welcome to Camp Nightmare was always a really good episode and a really good book for the most part. I really hate the ending of it, just like I hate the ending of this. The very last page always ruins this, just like it did the novel, just like it did the episode. It has great, great, great moments, right? Typically, in the other 2 versions of this story, the episode and the original novel. They have some great moments, really just intense, crazy, wild, fun, weird, scary at times. If you like summer camp stuff or just summertime tales, both of those are for you. This particular one being a 45-minute long episode, being adapted from that, it can't do what Ghost Beach did. This was adapted from a 20-minute long episode, so the pages have bigger font on the actual lettering. It's about 60 pages long, whereas this one is closer to about 68 pages long, almost 70 in total, and the font is just slightly smaller. So it's rounded up pretty quick, and it seems to me like the pacing is a little bit too fast on the story itself. I do want to get into that, getting to the actual story, I mean, right now, and then talk about a couple of other details as I go along throughout this review. So what is Welcome to Camp Nightmare about? Well, basically, there's a fellow named Billy who is going to a summer camp on a school bus-looking thing, and essentially he gets dropped off in the middle of nowhere. Turns out he and his friends and some girls that are going to the girls' version of this camp, Camp Night Moon, by the way, is the name of the camp, they're supposed to go to this place, and essentially they just get left off in the middle of nowhere. They have to carry their bags out, and they find a place once they find a fellow named Uncle Al, who happens to be the, leader of the camp. Uncle Al is a very strange man, kind of tough, not in the, 1950s greaser type of way, but like in just a mean guy with a mustache type of thing, like a hateful gym teacher type of dude. That's what he is in this book, and in the old book, and in the episode. Uncle Al he's a character, I'll tell you that much. Essentially, as soon as they all get there to Camp Night Moon, almost immediately they have a situation with some kind of beast out in the woods that tries to get to them, called Saber by Uncle Al. Saber is some kind of weird werewolf type of thing, we assume. In the book he's described as a beast. In the original book he's described as some kind of beast. Kind of wolf-like, I guess, but kind of not. I love the depiction of Saber in the actual TV episode. Of course, you can kind of see him here on the front. Kind of a werewolf thing, kind of just a straight-up monster creature type of thing, but I love in the episode how they used practical effects. It's an actual animatronic puppet at that time, and it was great for the 1990s. Really, really looked good. Like I said, the original book is scarier than everything else. The TV episode itself is pretty creepy. On this Camp Night Moon premise, they're actually told, the camp counselors tell them, Uncle Al tells the kids, the campers, that they are not allowed to go to this particular bunk called the Forbidden Bunk for some odd reason. Nobody really knows why. It may be condemned, you might be able to get hurt, it might be cursed, as some of the rumors seem to say around the camp in the old book. The kids are pretty scared of that. Anyway, the kids kind of start off trying to enjoy their vacation, but almost immediately, as soon as the main kids, Billy and his friends, make themselves onto the way of the boys' bunk, essentially one of the kids, I think his name was Mike or something, he gets bitten by a snake, hiding in his bed. Yeah, that's horrifying. Can you imagine that happening? It's kind of a cool reference to Friday the 13th, but kind of not. And from that point on, things just get worse. At some point, this kid that got bitten by the snake vanishes, and everybody that are not kids, the counselors, Uncle Al, everybody are basically, except for the main kids, denying that this kid ever existed, that nobody by that name had ever come to this camp this particular summer, that nobody had been sent home that was that name, anything like that. It's kind of spooky, just a little bit, because Billy knows that he's not crazy. He knows that this kid was there, his stuff is missing, his sheets off his bed are gone, all that stuff. It's pretty eerie. Just in general, this story is pretty eerie. This novelization, to me, can sometimes have its moments. It can be impactful, but it's mainly impactful when it's mimicking the original events from the episode or from the original book, which this episode and book are pretty faithful to that original novel. I do want to say that much. The things that it's taking from that as an adaptation are where it really shines. There's not much changed at all. It's just a lot of things Stein can write a very meandering day, a very just okay day, a slice of life type story. He can do that and pull it off with the way he tells those tales and those portions of his stories. Megan Stein here, not so much. It's not really her fault with the time constraint and everything else, the page constraint, whatever you have here. And it's fine. For the most part, it's fine. The atmosphere is good. There's, again, kind of a gothic nature to this and to Ghost Beach, the previous book I reviewed. This one has a little bit more of a Twilight Zone thing going for it. Not really in a sci-fi way, but kind of in a weird fantasy way by the end of the book. And it's a bit much. And again, it kind of ruins it. I've always said that the ending of this story, it's not even a big ending. It's just the way it ends kind of ruins the rest of the book for me. It's a last final twist to really shock the reader or the watcher or whatever. And it sucks. I just don't like it. It's just too much. It kind of ruins the story a little bit. But overall, this particular novelization is what I'm reviewing, and it just as a novelization trying to maintain the spirit of the old book, it doesn't work for me personally, most of the time. Sometimes it does. Like I said, in the scarier moments, it does work, but there were moments in the episode that were very humorous that were not in the original book. For example, this portion's in the book, in the original book, but it's not done the way the episode did it. In the Welcome to Camp Nightmare episode, there's actually a scene where one particular kid is zipped up into a sleeping bag. He gets scared inside of a cabin, and he wiggles like a worm while making a very distinct noise. I forgot what it was, but a very distinct noise that makes me laugh every single time when I watch that episode. That's why I like the episode almost more than most of these adaptations and whatever. And it's the image in my brain of him trying to wiggle under a bed in a sleeping bag that's hilarious. You just couldn't capture that in a book. You can't. And it's not Megan Stein's fault. It's not R.L. Stein's fault for the original book. It's just funny. It's one of those things that are visually funny as a gag. I don't know how much it was meant to be funny in the original episode, but it really worked, and it held up for that. There are things like that that you can't carry over from an episode that, from as far as I remember, wasn't really in the original book as a humorous scene. It's not fair to blame Megan Stein for something like that. She tries to write it as best she can, very quickly, to get the story going, and it doesn't translate well. And that's the big issue, is translation from the episode. It's really from book to episode to book. That's the problem here. Welcome to Camp Nightmare is not a bad book at all. This particular version of this story is not a bad book at all. It's pretty fun. It's just not one of my favorite of the TV Goosebumps books. It's not really one of my favorites of the original classic series. I think Welcome to Camp Nightmare is good, just not great. It has some great moments, but it's a mostly fine, good, solid read. This one I just kind of don't have much to say about it. It's okay. It's okay. It's got some good moments, but most of it kind of falls flat because of the translation issue from book to episode to book. If I had to recommend anything to you, I'd recommend the other two. The book, original book, and the TV episode. All of those are really, really solid for the most part, until that very final ending. And it kind of builds and builds and builds, and it works in that way. This one has a little bit of that building, and it works. I do have one more complaint. There are pictures in this book, as you know, for the TV books. If you don't know, I'm sorry. There are pictures in here. You get about 6 or 8 pictures, pages, whatever, of stills from the episodes for these TV books to kind of give you something nice to pay for these. Most of these images are completely blurry, and I thought maybe it was the lighting of the room I was in when I was reading this downstairs, finishing it up earlier in my living room. And then I came upstairs to start recording this, and before I started this video, I opened up the book, and I realized how blurry some of these pictures were compared to the Ghost Beach book, which I just showed you, that the pictures look really solid for the most part. I don't know what that is. I don't know why that happened the way it happened, but it's very blurry. It's almost a photosensitivity thing. It's like the photo itself looks too bright a lot of the time. I don't know if something happened on the printers or what, but the pictures here, I'll give you kind of an example here. I'll cover up one so I don't spoil anything for you, but this particular thing right here, it's very blurry. I don't know how good you guys can see that, but it is not great in real life. Anyway, a lot of these pictures in here, typically the problem that I see with TV books, if you're not familiar with that episode, you will probably have something towards the end of the book spoiled for you. Sometimes big plot points, sometimes minor things that are not a big deal. Sometimes, most of the time, you're fine. However, in this case, there are literally like 3 major plot points at the end of the book that are spoiled by these photos. So if you read this book and you've never, for whatever reason, read the original book or seen the episode, you know nothing about Welcome to Camp Nightmare, or any of the TV books for that matter, I would say anytime you read these, if you don't know the episode, skip the pictures and read them at the end, after you've read the entire book. Because some of these pictures can tie up to the very last few pages, or even spoil the final chapter, which is a big deal in my personal opinion. It's like watching a movie review for a newer movie, like a new Star Wars movie or something, and then having so much of it spoiled for you out of nowhere. It's kind of one of those gut-crushing feelings for something you're looking forward to. Anyway, when it comes to R.L. Stine Goosebumps Presents TV episode, in case you want me to call it TV book number 3, Welcome to Camp Nightmare. When it comes to this book, if I had to rate it on a 5-star basis, I would probably give it about roughly a 3 out of 5 stars. So it's got some good moments in here, some translation issues. I feel like every time I say that I'm thinking about like English to Spanish type stuff. It's not that. It's just, this one's a mixed bag. A very, very mixed bag in my personal opinion. It's an issue with execution more than anything. I don't entirely blame Megan Stein, the particular author, for this. I just don't. She had a task, she tried, and she did fairly well trying to mimic R.L. Stine's tone, the way he tells stories that are very personable for the main characters. The particular writing voice that he uses is very distinct, and she tries her best to mimic that, just like Carol Ellis did on the previous book, Ghost Beach, that I reviewed. And I appreciate that. I think that helps a lot with this particular read, or just any of these TV books in general. So anyway, when I look at this book, Welcome to Camp Nightmare, I'd give it about a 3 out of 5 stars. Like I said, it's not great, not bad, just a very mixed bag. On this particular version, again, I recommend the episode and the original book a lot, in a lot of ways, as flawed as they are. But this one, not so much. This is probably the weakest of those 3. Anyway, what are your thoughts on Welcome to Camp Nightmare, the episode, the original book, this novelization? What do you think about it? What are your thoughts on the TV books? Put all your thoughts and comments down below, folks. I would love to hear what you have to say about this particular read, about this review of mine. And thank you for watching, guys. God bless you. I'm all over the place tonight. Can't even think straight. It's so late. I have to go to bed soon because I'm ready to crash. I've had to re-record the previous video for Ghost Beach like 4 times to try to get it right. Anyway, thank you for watching, guys. God bless you. Have a good night's sleep, and goodbye.